It is our time to talk about the ballot breakdown, and it's hard to talk about anything except that debate and the possibility of another debate. Now, the former president's calling it the third debate because he debated Joe Biden, President Biden, but it really would be the second debate against the vice president. She is open to the idea of another debate, and he is not. And this is I think the fascinating part of all of this is he said that she wants another debate because she lost their first debate.
But when a prize fighter loses a fight, you've seen a lot of fights, right? The first words out of that fighter's mouth is, I want a rematch, I want a rematch. And that's what she said, I want a rematch. Polls clearly show that I won the debate against Comrade Kamala Harris.
I would say this. The former president I have been wrong about him from the very beginning. Now, I voted for him over Hillary Clinton. I voted for him over Joe Biden, and I'm voting for him over Vice President Harris. I just think he's better qualified. I think he will do a better job. That's my personal feeling. And I get arguments from people, but I'm telling you where I stand. And I've been wrong about him from the beginning. When he decided to run in 2015, I didn't think he was serious. I didn't think he was a serious candidate. I didn't think he could beat that field of candidates. There were some very seasoned, very well-known names that were well-funded and well-connected that had been doing this for years. And he was able to pick them off one by one. And in doing this in 2016 in the election year, he was able to run through that list of candidates. If you remember some of the more remarkable moments of his candidacy, there was at least, I think, a dozen people on the debate stage, and the question was asked of all the candidates, will you promise, raise your hand if you promise to support whatever candidate ends up winning the nomination? He didn't raise his hand. They booed him. He didn't raise his hand, and everybody else did, or almost everybody else did. And he said, I can't make that promise because I don't know what's going to happen. I'm not going to promise I'm going to do something if I don't know that I can actually do it. And what's interesting is all of those people that raised their hand, many of them didn't keep that promise. That was kind of the introduction. That was the drain the swamp thing they were talking about. Now, I will tell you, I think the world of George W. Bush. I've never met his brother, Jeb Bush, but I have no axe to grind with the Bush family. I think Bush 41, George H.W. Bush, was a fine man. I think he was an amazing humanitarian and a great human being, although I've never met him. I've had a number of occasions where I've been in the same room with W. He's always been very good to my family, very kind to us after what happened to losing my brother in Iraq. I have no negative things to say about the Bush family. I know how the Cheney family feels about the Trump family. I'm out of that. I'm not in that fight. I'm observing what happened. Donald Trump not only won the nomination, he did what most people thought was impossible. He beat Hillary Clinton. She still believes it was stolen. All this election denial stuff with Donald Trump, she still says the election was stolen. She wrote a book about it. She traveled the world talking about it. She still says the Russians interfered and stole that election from her. So election denial happens on both sides of the aisle. He just did it differently than she did. Whether you agree with him or not, it was just different. But he won the presidency. So I didn't think he was going to run seriously. I didn't think he'd win the nomination. I didn't believe he was going to win the election. I'm telling you, I've been wrong about him many, many times. I don't see him doing those things right now. When you are only preaching to the choir, and he wasn't, Donald Trump in 2016, candidate Donald Trump in 2016, went into the belly of the beast. He went into districts across this country that were Democrat districts. They had voted twice for Barack Obama. The issue here for me is, first of all, I think it would be great for Arizona if we hosted a debate here. If we did one more debate in October and it happened here, and CBS is inviting another debate to happen, I believe it's got to happen at Cronkite at ASU. If that were to happen, it would be incredible in my mind. I think it would be incredible. The former president says he doesn't need it. Now, I will tell you, here's where I'm torn. I think he does. But I also am acknowledging, as I started this whole thing off with saying I've been wrong about him already. I think it would be wise for him to debate again, be better prepared on the topics, and say the things he needs to say when he talks about the economy, which we're going to get into in more specifics in a few minutes. He wants to cut the corporate tax rate even more for jobs that are when they manufacture their goods in the U.S. He wants to repatriate those jobs. If I were him, I'd be bragging about the renegotiation of NAFTA into the USMCA and how that was something that helped all three countries in North America. But talking about that in the economy and how he wants to reduce regulation on building, which we're going to get into. The vice president said she's only had one client her entire career, and it's the American people. I would be hammering that in a debate and saying, see, I've been a builder. Let's fix the housing crisis. She's never signed a paycheck on the front. She's never had a business. So that's the issue for me. So he went on to say that he's done 2 debates. He has, but he's only done one with the vice president.
But she immediately called for a second debate, which means that she was like a prize fighter that lost a fight. We had 2 debates, though. I had a debate with Crooked Joe Biden, right? And I had another debate with her. She and Crooked Joe have destroyed our country.
So I want to be fair to the vice president. This is her calling for that debate.
2 nights ago, Donald Trump and I had our first debate. And I believe we owe it to the voters to have another debate.
So I think there is a level of, and I will say to you, people did not expect much from her in that debate, and she was able to do enough to quell some suspicions. I don't think she performed spectacularly well, but she did good enough. I don't think he did well at all, certainly not up to his capabilities. So if you're going to talk about that, and he brought up the analogy of a fight, if you look at that, Mike Tyson, well, first of all, let me say this because I love Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson beat Buster Douglas. Go back and watch it. He knocked him out, and he was able to get up off the mat past the 10 seconds. Doesn't matter. In the end, Mike Tyson lost the fight, officially. But Mike Tyson was beaten that night by what everybody called an inferior opponent. That as dangerous as any professional boxer is, and Buster Douglas, a professional fighter, is a dangerous person if you make mistakes and you're not prepared, and they have a very good night. And that was proven that night. I'm not bringing this up to be sarcastic, but Notre Dame got beaten this past weekend at home by Northern Illinois University that had never beaten a team, I think, in the top 10, certainly not in the top 5 in the country. Would you bet if they played again that Notre Dame would win or lose? So I'm using this analogy of saying that I think that if you believe you're superior, and Donald Trump believes he is, then you should want to have, and I think the American people deserve a debate of substance. And I hope if it does happen, if he is convinced that it should happen, I would love for it to be here in Arizona.
Thanks for watching the Mike Broomhead Show. Tap to watch the first season of Amazing Arizonans, a KTAR News podcast. You can also click the button in the middle to subscribe.